Next on Meet the Farmer TV, local food comes to the University of Virginia Hospital.
Love heals. It helps prevention and it helps cure. And this is really about making the human journey, which we're all on together, and our human Earth planet, we're all on together, full of love. And it can be.
Now let's talk to Dr. Sandra Amrita McLanahan about reversing heart disease with diet. Let's find out about the nutritional side of local food.
We're beginning to understand as physicians, and in general, the general public as well, the relationship of lifestyle to health. There's now good research that shows the relationship of our choices in terms of our health outcome. So particularly the digestion is the central system of the body. We need to pay attention to the nutrients and also the way the nutrients are grown. And so we have body, the effect on the body. We have the effect on the mind. We now know that mind and mood and nutrients are connected. Then the effect on the spirit. We know that people who have contact with their spiritual self do better in terms of prevention and treatment of disease, recovery. And then nature, our connection to nature is very important because it helps in, again, recovery from illness. They found that even putting a picture of nature in your hospital room makes you go home on average 2 days sooner. So our connection to nature is very important, but particularly in terms of nutrition, we're paying attention to how our food is grown. That an average apple today has 60% less magnesium than in 1930. Magnesium is necessary to relax our blood vessels and help prevent high blood pressure and arrhythmias. And so now, in terms of mass growing of foods, only 3 nutrients are replaced to the soil: nitrogen, potassium, and phosphorus. Whereas we have over 200 nutrients that we need from our foods. And so to the extent that we can raise organic food and eat organic food, we have a better chance in terms of prevention and treatment of illness. But also, locally grown food is very important because we have to think of the larger environment in terms of nature. We have to think about how far do we ship food, what kind of cost in terms of energy and global climate change and waste of resources. We could feed the whole world if we do things efficiently and if we make healthy choices. And finally, the 5th area is community, that it brings community together and to have local foods. It allows us to connect up to each other in terms of our work. And this is very important. Humans are very social creatures. We need to have social connection. This allows for social connection. It allows for the nutrients to be fresher when they're locally grown. And that's important because over time we can lose nutrients just by contact over time with heat and the degeneration of the food itself. So we have to pay attention to all these levels of our food choices. We've put ourselves at risk as a Western population because we got into the habit of eating differently than our genetic structure is evolved to eat. And so we're making choices that aren't healthy in terms of excess fats, refined foods, refined sugars, and these have now been fully, carefully, scientifically associated with both heart disease and cancer. Now that we're understanding we're not a body separate from a mind, we're a body-mind, and we are in fact a body-mind-spirit. Our spirit gives us strength, and it's not just that we have a heart beating, we have to say, what is your heart beating for? And the mind and body and spirit connection now are being appreciated in terms of health. And that's particularly true with something like taste, that we have to live a life worth living for, and that includes the senses, and the taste and color of food is very important for our digestion. We secrete more saliva. This assists in the digestive process. We are more attuned to when we've had enough. Fruit is naturally heavy, and so it will give a message to the stomach of enough. Whereas whereas many of the refined foods, cookies, cakes, are light, and it'll take a lot more to give that heavy message that will then send a signal to the brain we've had enough. And we can eat them more quickly. So avoiding refined foods is a really important step. And when they're locally grown and full of the taste of ripening on the vine, they'll satisfy our desire for sweetness. If you take an apple and eat it, a well-ripened apple, it tastes, is satisfied. Fiber is there. If you take applesauce, even in a normal person, the blood sugar will go above normal and then below normal. While it's above normal, your white cells are less active to fight infection. That's why diabetics get more infection. If you take apple juice, it'll go way up and then way down. And if you take refined sugar, even higher and then way down. So even apple juice is not a natural food. An apple is a natural food. If we return to eating food as it occurs in nature, we have less risk for illness, and we can satisfy ourselves and help prevent. About 70% of Americans are overweight now, adult Americans, 70%. We have to start making healthier choices, because just being overweight increases the risk of so many diseases: the high blood pressure, heart disease, the major cancers, arthritis. So we have an ability now to act preventively and to reverse disease once it occurs. I worked with Dr. Ornish, where we showed in careful scientific studies that heart disease could be reversed. So you can say to a person who has heart disease, you can reverse your disease. And we also showed that this is, there are 4 components to the lifestyle that were important for reversing disease. Number 1 was diet. That was nature-oriented, plant-based diet. Then second is exercise. We are a very sedentary culture. We have to include exercise. The third is yoga. We need to reduce our stress, and yoga is a great way to do that. And the fourth is group support. Once again, it's hard to have a healthy lifestyle on your own. So then he applied this to reversing prostate cancer and found that within 3 weeks there was evidence that the body was starting to turn off the genes that promote cancer and turn on the genes that fight cancer. And there's a wonderful new book called Anti-Cancer about this work, and Dr. Ornish has a number of books about his work. Dr. Neil Barnard has been on PBS a lot talking about his work. He has a book called Get Healthy, Eat Vegan, and it's about the research and support and nice recipes, easy to follow, about eating what we grew up thinking was a balanced diet. The 4 food groups. One was meat, one was dairy, one was fruit and vegetables, one was grains. This was not based on any science, zero science. It was invented by General Mills to sell cereal. So it was not based on what's good for the body. It was a marketing tool. We now have the new 4 food groups, so that are the healthy food groups too. Number 1 is fruits in their whole form. So 4 to 5 pieces a day. You don't have to be afraid of the glycemic index. It's the glycemic load that matters. How much work over time the pancreas has to do. Number 2 is fresh vegetables, 2 salads a day, 4 to 5 servings of vegetables, which will give you a different type of fiber and help the body stay healthy. Number 3 is whole grains. Avoid the white flour, the white sugar, which act like sugar in the body, white flour does, and again affect the blood sugar levels and our ability to maintain health. Increased inflammation. We now know inflammation is strongly associated with illness. So meat, dairy, and sugar, white flour all increase inflammation in the body. The 4th whole food group is what you want to do is get concentrated protein from beans because they give you fiber, they give you phytonutrients, they're low in calories, they fill you up. Things made out of beans, lentils, dal, soy products. We now know that soy products are safe to use. The Journal of the AMA a couple months ago just showed that women who have had breast cancer who add soy to their diet are less likely to have a recurrence. So that's new information that's we can help prevent and reverse disease using soy. It helps prevent heart disease as well. And And then modest amounts of raw nuts and seeds. Nuts and seeds have calcium, magnesium, fiber. They fill us up, but they are high in calories, so we want to have modest, small amounts. Rather than using the nut butters, which again would raise your blood fat level and interfere with circulation, we use the whole nut as it occurs in nature. And once again, if they're locally grown, they taste much more fresh, and we can support having a healthy environment as well. Well, the number one risk factor for illness overall is social isolation. This is the number one risk factor for all types of illness. When we feel isolated and loneliness, and Mother Teresa said loneliness is the poverty of the West. It's a deeper poverty than the material poverty of the third world. So our loneliness leads to bad lifestyle choices and also has physiologic effects, leads to chronic anger or chronic depression, which change our hormone levels for making us at risk for disease. So connecting up locally to the farmers who are out in the fresh air and sunshine, sharing their experience, because as humans we need fresh air and sunshine. We now know that vitamin D plays a big role in prevention of disease, so we need to get out in the sun a certain amount of time per day to get our natural vitamin D. And getting in the sun to get your vitamin D, as opposed to taking a vitamin D supplement, the body can adjust its vitamin D level. So it's better if you have that opportunity, and then you can use supplements as needed. Once again, it's better to eat the whole fresh fruit and vegetables than to take supplements to try to make yourself healthy, because of all the nutrients we haven't discovered, all the minor trace nutrients that the body uses to help adjust its health. Well, I think what we want to do is look at the most aerial view of health. We want to look at our global choices. And now that we know things like the danger of certain choices that we make, such as the Gulf oil spill or some other environmental impact of the choices, we really want to say, okay, how can we keep our planet Earth healthy? And that impacts our own individual health. And so we need to pay attention to our farmers, to encourage them to grow organic, to have that connection of community for our own safety, because love heals. Love heals. It helps prevention and it helps cure. And this is really about making the human journey, which we're all on together, and our human Earth planet, we're all on together, full of love. And it can be. Every time we buy a particular food, we vote for more of that. Now, it's not as if the industry of food in this country is trying to deceive us, maybe sometimes, but they want to supply us what we will buy. So we as consumers need to educate ourselves about what's right to purchase. And then we vote every time we buy that, we get more of that. So we want to make the effort to buy organic because it's so important for our planet. It's so important for our own individual health. The food is more healthy. The environment is more healthy. We keep ourselves safe if we make the effort to purchase local organic food. It's like anything. Whatever we purchase is going to be more encouraged to be done. And so when we make the effort to purchase these organic foods, the farmers will be empowered to do this. It's difficult now for many of them to go through the effort of organic. But if they know they're going to sell their produce, if they're going to sell what they're doing, then they'll be encouraged and supported to make the effort to do this. And this is very important for our planet, for our personal health, for the safety of our children. We have in this country an epidemic of heart disease. Half of all Americans die from heart-related illnesses. Half of all Americans. It's more than all of the diseases combined. This was not true 100 years ago. In the beginning of the 1900s, it was very rare to have a heart attack. And so it's our lifestyle choices that we've been making over time that have contributed to the problem. So what we need now is to pay attention to those factors factors that have contributed to this epidemic. And we can, and I want to assure you, we can eliminate 95% of heart disease from our country. So much suffering could be eliminated by a vegan diet. This is the diet that helps prevent and reverse heart disease. We know this clearly now. And the second is cancers. We have an epidemic of cancers. Certain cancers are much more common. Breast cancer, prostate cancer, much more common even in young people. We can help prevent and reverse these diseases by a vegan diet. And this has been shown. And diabetes, our fastest growing epidemic, has been shown scientifically to be reversed in about 6 weeks on a vegan diet. Type 2 diabetes can be reversed in about 6 weeks. So we can eliminate the diabetes epidemic by changing our food choices. And it begins, the really exciting thing is it begins in a few days. You can feel the difference. So it's worth a try. Just try it for a week or two and see how you feel, because generally you can feel the difference. Everything in your body starts to self-correct, and it's not just quantity of life, it's quality of life we're talking about. The vegan diet, it consists of the new 4 food groups: whole fresh fruit, whole fresh vegetables, whole grains, and beans, modest amounts of nuts and seeds, raw. And so that's the new 4 food groups that make up the healthy vegan diet. It eliminates all meats, including eggs and fish. It eliminates all dairy products. We now know scientifically what's optimum for the human body. We're 95.5% genetically identical with gorillas. And if you met a gorilla in a dark alley, you wouldn't take time to say, but where did you get your protein? Sure you don't need some fish? They're all vegetarian, vegan. And so this is the optimum diet for our structure. And it helps prevent both heart disease, cancer, arthritis, diabetes, the list goes on. So if we make healthy, optimum vegan food choices, we keep ourselves safe. So the vegan diet, it consists of the 4 healthy food groups: whole fresh fruit in its natural form, not fruit juices, not dried fruit, not refined syrups and things like that. So number 1 is whole fresh fruit. Number 2 is whole fresh vegetables in their natural form. Number 3 is whole grains, and number 4 is beans, peas, lentils, dal, soy products, and modest amounts of nuts and seeds. And so that's the healthy food choices. And there are plenty of food choices within this range. Fish is not a health food because it still has a significant amount of cholesterol in it. Even though the fatty fishes have some omega-3s that allow them to move more quickly, beans have omega-3s in them too. Nuts and seeds have omega-3s, and they're better choices because any kind of fish still has some cholesterol in it. The cholesterol is a dense, waxy substance that interferes with the body's blood flow. We now know that within 2 weeks of cutting the lymph around the heart disease develops. You've got to keep your lymph flowing well so your white cells can go and remove any clots. If you have dense foods there, and that includes cheese and dairy products, then the body can't do the repair work that it needs to do. So this is why we're safer on this kind of diet. The body can repair itself better.
I'm Michael Clark, your host for Meet the Farmer TV. Thank you for joining us for this show on local food and the UVA Health Food System. Meet the Farmer TV is made possible by Planet Earth Diversified, Melly Productions, and Leslie P. Jenkins Photography and Graphic Design. Culpeper's Channel 21, helping to preserve the agricultural history of Virginia, and In the Kitchen magazine, serving the community and everyone who loves good food.